You know the name, right? Park Seo Joon. For years, he's been one of the biggest, most bankable stars in the entire K-drama universe. He was the face of these monster hits that literally took the world by storm. But lately, the whole conversation around him has changed. His projects are fewer and farther between, and public opinion, well, it really seems to be shifting. So what exactly happened to one of Korea's brightest stars? Okay, let's just dive right into his backstory for a second, because his rise was nothing short of meteoric. After debuting back in 2011, he just steadily climbed the ranks. Then 2017's Fight for My Way made him a real, bona fide leading man. A year later, bam! What's Wrong with Secretary Kim basically crowned him the undisputed king of romantic comedy. And by 2020, Itaewon Class launched him into a whole new level of international stardom, which led him straight to Hollywood for The Marvels in 2023. I mean, the guy was on top of the world.
And that really brings us to the central question here. After hitting such incredible heights, why does it feel like his star power has kind of faded? Even with a major Hollywood role under his belt, it seems like his career momentum has just hit a wall.
So to really understand the full picture, we're going to break this whole thing down. We're going to look at the sudden change in his career pace, the growing questions about his actual performances, some pretty big controversies around his public behavior, and how some of his personal views just sparked a massive global backlash.
First up, let's talk about the most obvious change. After 2020, that constant stream of hit projects that pretty much defined his career, it suddenly slowed to a trickle. And when you look at it side by side like this, the contrast is, well, it's pretty stark. Before 2020, he was an absolute drama powerhouse. But since then, he's only starred in one new Korean series. His movie roles in 2023 got mixed reviews at best, and that public adoration he used to enjoy has been increasingly replaced with some really sharp criticism. And that leads us right into the first major factor here, this growing debate around his acting range. Critics and viewers have started asking, has he gotten a little too comfortable playing the same kind of character over and over again? So, here's the common critique, that his most iconic roles, in shows like Fight for My Way and Secretary Kim, are really just variations of the same guy, the handsome, charming, and often super funny leading man. Even in his more serious dramas, he's often the source of comedic relief. And now, a lot of fans are saying, hey, we want to see him tackle something with more dramatic weight. And his recent work has really poured fuel on that fire. His 2023 film Dream was called Dull, his big, highly anticipated Marvel debut, dismissed as brief and unremarkable. And his huge-budget return to K-drama, Gyeongsang's Creature, was widely panned as boring, with some critics calling it a major career setback. Ouch. And get this, the budget for Gyeongsang's Creature was a staggering $53 million. With that kind of money on the line, expectations were absolutely sky-high. So when the series just didn't deliver for a lot of people, the backlash was, well, pretty intense. But it hasn't just been his on-screen work that's been under the microscope. His off-screen behavior has also kicked up a ton of controversy, especially one particular incident in 2023 that just went completely viral. Right. The moment that really ignited this whole discussion was what people now call the headband incident. And it all went down during a press event for his movie Concrete Utopia. So here's what happened. During the event, a fan gave headbands to him and his co-star, Park Bo Young. She put hers on, but when she tried to give the other one to Park Seo Joon, he just refused. For a lot of people watching, this came across as super rude, like he was rejecting simple fan service, and it left his co-star looking really awkward. But of course, there are two sides to every story. Park Seo Joon later explained that his hair was just caked with so much spray that putting anything on his head would have been genuinely painful. He called the whole thing a misunderstanding and said there were no issues with his co-star. The fan who brought the gift even came forward to defend him, saying his reason was totally understandable.
But here's the thing. This incident didn't just happen in a vacuum. It fed into this growing narrative among some Korean journalists who were already calling his behavior unbearable, accusing him of developing a celebrity complex and just being plain unfriendly. But believe it or not, the headband thing wasn't even the most damaging controversy, especially for his international image. No, that came from an old interview that was dug up and just exploded online.
So picture this. Way back in 2014, he did an interview where he talked about his ideal partner. It went totally unnoticed for years, but in 2021, someone rediscovered it online. Then it resurfaced with a vengeance in 2023, right as his global fame was peaking with the Marvels.
And this is the quote at the heart of the firestorm. He said that his future wife should quit her job to raise their children, claiming that kids needed to be raised by their mother to avoid becoming problematic. Well, critics immediately jumped on this, calling it a reflection of an old patriarchal belief.
And the backlash was absolutely massive and global. It came from both his domestic Korean fans and his brand new international audience. For a lot of people who were just discovering him through Marvel, the shock was huge, with some even saying they could no longer look at him the same way.
So, after a string of poorly received projects and some seriously damaging public controversies, the question on everyone's mind is, where does Park Seo Joon possibly go from here? Well, his path forward is tricky, to say the least. He's got to navigate this whole new public perception, carefully choose projects that can silence the critics and actually showcase his range, and prove he can still deliver a hit. And his very next project, a drama called Waiting for Gyeongsong, is going to be a major, major test. Which leaves us with this final, critical question. Can Park Seo Joon really orchestrate a major comeback and reclaim his spot at the very top? Or will these recent challenges prove to be more than just a temporary cooldown, maybe even marking a permanent shift in a once unstoppable career? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.